Oh, hi there, guys. On YouTube world. Just something I wanted to put on here for a little while. I've been thinking about. While I'm sat here now in beautiful Fjordland, lovely skies. Just waiting for the most beloved to get sorted. But what I wanted to have a quick musing about was my experience with statin medication. Now, a few years ago, I went to see the GP, general checkup, and I've got high cholesterol. And the drug of choice for that is statins. I'm not going to go into a lot of the changes in thinking about cholesterol levels and fat and sugar and the conspiracy theories and all sorts of things that goes on about that. You know, that's a huge topic, and lots of Google stuff out there on the information world for that. This is more just on my personal experience of taking statin medication. So anyway, I went to the GP and he did my bloods, like I said. I came out a bit high, a lot high. And so he prescribed me simvastatin. It's generally the first drug of choice. It's the cheapest, it's been out the longest. And didn't really know much about it, didn't really think much about it, didn't tell me much about it. However, about a week or two down the line, I started to get muscle stiffness, joint stiffness. If I sat down, like in a comfy couch, something like that, for any length of time, when I went to stand up, I'd have difficulty standing up. So I stopped taking the medication. Give it a couple of weeks to get out my system, make sure it hadn't been, some sort of virus or something I'd picked up and it had just coincidentally happened at the same time. Then started them again. Within sort of like 5 or 6 days, exactly the same things again. With quite sore thigh muscles and hip joints and things like that. So I went back to my GP and he just said, "Oh, right, okay, then we'll try you on a different one." No explanations, no talk about side effects, no talk about the medication themselves, how they work, nothing. Just, we'll try you on something different. And he put me on a pravastatin. So I started the pravastatin. And within sort of like a week and a half, 2 weeks, I had exactly the same symptoms again. Not quite as severe, but the same symptoms. Did the same again, stopped them, left it for a couple of weeks, made sure it was out of my system, tried it again. Same thing happened again in a shorter period of time. But about that time, that's when I came over to NZ here with my family. So I didn't do anything for a little while. However, I went to the GP here and explained to him what had gone off. And he said, "Oh, right, okay, then no problem." He said, "We'll try with the atorvastatin, which apparently is supposed to be the most tolerable one, that people have the least amount of problems with." So I started taking that. After, I believe it was, 3 months, things seemed to be okay. I wasn't really aware of anything major. Looking back now, I do realise that some of the things I was putting down to sort of getting a little bit older, a little bit not recovering quite the same, a little bit of stiffness, some old injuries niggling me and things like that. Never thought anything of it. It was very minor. Things seemed to be going okay. I went back after the 3 months. He said, "Oh, great, you're tolerating it, your cholesterol's still a bit high, let's try upping it." So he upped it from 40 milligrams I'd started on to 80. Well, over a relatively speaking, short period of time, when I just didn't really think about what was happening. I started having a number of different problems, but they were different to the problems I had on the previous medication, and more wide-ranging. What I found was when I was walking the boys, if I went up a steep hill, I'd get to the top and I'd be out of breath. My thighs were sore. A lot of old injuries were niggling me. A lot of tendinitis type problems from injuries from shoulders, elbows and knees, from too much daft stuff when I was younger. But I never really put the two together, and I thought, well, I've tolerated them. I'm not having the same problems as I had before. This is obviously different. And I thought maybe there's bits of bugs going around, changing to the new environment, changing a bit of diet, water, all sorts of things, getting older, things getting harder to recover from, not keeping up to my fitness properly. I put all sorts of things. But at the same time, without really realising it, I'd started to ruminate a lot, quite darkly. The slightest thing became a major. And that got worse and worse, and without even realising it, things like at work and things I put down to stress. One of the big reasons I left the UK was the stress of work, and I'd gone to a much easier job. So again, I put a lot of things down to me de-stressing, taking a long... anybody knows if you've ever suffered from stress or anything like that, it takes a long, long time for your body and your mind to recover from things like that, if they ever do. That's another topic. However, I couldn't concentrate at work. I couldn't sit through any lengthy handover. I couldn't retain information. I was writing everything down. At home, I wasn't planning to do anything. I was struggling just to walk the boys. You know, I'd come over here because of the bush and getting out there and, getting out and doing it, as I keep saying. And I just wasn't. And then one day I was driving to work one day, and as usual I saw somebody cut somebody up on the motorway, and I started to ruminate on it, thinking, how dangerous it was. It could have involved me because it was very close to me. People could have been hurt. How stupid it was. And I was driving down the motorway and suddenly thinking, this is ridiculous. I can't go on like this. If this is getting older, I'm not interested. I don't want to live like this. It's bloody bad. And I thought, hang on, that was an absolute ridiculous train of thought. The situation I was in, there's no way I should be thinking like that. Anyway, I got to work, and one of the chaps I work with, I'd remembered a question he'd asked me when I first came over, and he'd asked me if I'd ever had any psychological problems with the statins, and I didn't think about it. So I saw him, it was work that day, and I said, about why he'd asked me that, and he just said, Google it, but don't Google side effects. Google psychological effects of statins. Much more specific. So I did. Well, it took me about a day and a half to 2 days to actually sift through the information and piece it together and join it with what was happening to me. And I thought, well, this is a bit strange. So actually what I did initially, thinking back to how the medication worked, I just halved the medication to the original dose I was on. Now, one of the things I'd noticed, over a period of time, I'd found it harder and harder to get out of bed on a morning. Normally, I'm really, really annoying on a morning. The alarm goes off, I get up, I'm functioning. Really annoying. But it was getting to the point where it was taking me 10 and 15 minutes to get out of bed. But within about 3 or 4 days of 3 days, I think it was, of halving the dose, I suddenly realised one morning, I was stood in the kitchen with the kettle on, and I thought, hang on, my alarm went off, I got up, grabbed my clothes, and I've got the kettle on. And I thought, that's a massive change, just a massive change. And so I thought, right, well, that's it then. That lasted maybe, say about another day or two, exactly the same. Things didn't go back. So I stopped the medication. And I went from being virtually unable to make a decision, feeling that way, not being able to sit through a handover, wanting to go to sleep constantly at work, ruminating on everything. And within a week, I'd actually planned a backpacking trip into the Kaimais, a hunting trip, packed for it, everything, kit, food, maps, itinerary, everything. And I went and I hiked for 2 days through the Kaimais with a big pack on my back. Bivvied out, had a great time, got up the second morning, realised, what had gone on, went home, and literally, relatively quickly, I was back to walking the dogs to all the normal places without any issues, driving to work, seeing the things, I'd look and think, what a knob driving like that. But that was the end of it, just as it should be. I was functioning through handovers and everything like that. So I went to see the GP. Now, bearing in mind this was the third lot of medication, the third lot of problems, so I explained to him what I'd done, how I'd halved the medication, stopped the medication, kept a check on the things that were happening. And for the first time, the GP actually told me that apparently, this is in very much layman's terms, that there are 3 enzymes in the body, and the 3 different sorts of statins that I'd been given are broken down by these enzymes. Now, some people have all 3, some people have 2, some people have 1. It would appear I have none. I also explained to him the range of side effects and how it had made me feel. And the strange thing I got was he wasn't surprised at all. He knew everything I was telling him. But nobody had told me. Nobody. And I'm on blood pressure tablets as well. And strangely enough, after I'd been to see the GP that day, I'd got a repeat for my statins. For my blood pressure tablets. I've forgotten the name of it at the minute. It's a similar name though. And I was in the chemist's, and the lady there who was serving me said, "Oh, are you not on your statins now?" And I said, "No," and she just looked at me and she said, "Oh, physical or psychological problems?" And she said, and I said, I should have, and I said, "Both." And she said, "Oh, right, yeah, I'm not surprised." And I said, "Well, why?" And obviously, and she explained to me people that she knew, obviously from her job, and the wide range of things that people have spoken to her about. And I just think, well, why had no GP ever mentioned anything about this to me, talked through possible other options, possible side effects? It just really, really bemused me how something that could potentially cause so many effects, from literally people complaining of full full-blown depression, you know, to just physical aches and pains, you know. I don't know, but this is my experience of that. You know, so I would strongly suggest anybody who is recommended to go on statins, fine, give them a go. Absolutely give them a go. If you're able to tolerate them, great, they do a good job, they bring your cholesterol down, there's no other way of doing it. You know, but just bear in mind, you know, the things that I've said and my experiences. Any issues, get back to your GP, demand to know what's going on, you know, and a change. Like I say, it just seems very strange, and I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there when you're talking about what is a multi-billion pound business all over the world. You know, it's one of the biggest selling drugs in the world. However, you know, there's obviously lots and lots of people who can tolerate it, but at the same time, there's lots of people who can't. So I just wanted to just put this out there. So sorry it's a bit on the dour side, but it is just a bit of a warning to anybody out there, especially, I mean, probably a lot of people, YouTubers, who watch anything remotely like my channel, or if you've gone on there and put in for statins, you know, your chances are you're going to be in a similar boat to me. So, you know, hopefully it's of some use, of interest. And, well, you know, thank you for watching and giving me your time. If you have just come on to look at statins, there's probably not a lot else in my you know, portfolio that you'd be interested in, but, you know, give it a look, you never know. You might quite like knife making and bushcrafting outdoors, give you a new lease of life, you know. Get out there and get exercising a bit, you'd need less statins. But with that, I'll sign off, and thank you for your time, and catch you on the next roundabout, guys.